Hi there. I hope you had an opportunity to check out part one of stepping out of your comfort zone. In this video, part two, we'll give some additional information with the panel. Enjoy.
Have you tried something new yet this year? Well, at the end of last year, I tried a little something new with a few friends, and I wanted to share that with you today. I'm Clarice Warner, the girl with the pearls, the founder and education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And on this channel, I provide you with information, tips, and strategies on how to become a certified marketable medical coder. Now, we're taking a small break. I'll be back next week, I believe, with some tips and tricks for medical coding and health information management professionals, as I am completing my updates to our 2021 online medical coding course, as well as our new and improved and updated E&M leveling checklist. I will have two. I will have one for that has been updated for inpatient hospital services, inpatient observation services, and all the services that maintain the current or maintain the previous E&M guidelines. And then we will have a new checklist for the services in office or other outpatient services. So be on the lookout for that. The link to the updated E&M leveling service checklist is in the description box below, so check that out. But this video just provides you with a little sneak peek into something that I did that was outside of my comfort zone that I wanted to share with you all and hopefully encourage you to do the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's great, Nathan, because in whatever you do, right? I think we often hear is our village or our team base or those we can go to. Is so important that those are individuals that that aren't in the background trying to get what you have, and who truly care about growing and developing and willing to put in the work. Because some people, I think, are like, oh, that's a great idea, I want to join your team, and then when it doesn't just happen, they're not there, so I think that's very important.
But can I also say this, Dr. FG? What I've also learned is you have to understand the roles and what you need from someone and be very clear about that before you bring them on the team. Because what I've learned is you can also have great people, but if you don't clearly define what their role is and how it benefits what your mission is, then that can stunt your growth, or you don't get the best out of them.
And sometimes I think that we could have relationships with people and they've been in our life long. And because, they have been there and we've talked to them about our business and we think that they make good teammates. But in fact, Renee was talking about gaps and you were talking about what is the need? What do you have? Do they really have whatever it is that you need? Not just because you have a relationship, but because this person can add some value to whatever your need is.
Well, and I want to put a little different twist on it, because I still think that when you talk about it, it should be around what your goals are for your company, what your personal and what your goals are for your company as well. And I think, about team, it's important to be able to recognize, exactly what Nathan's saying is like in terms of value and what they could bring. But I think it's important to understand, and I'm going to bring it back to the perspectives that they're going to give you something. And you have to be able to understand what to take from it and what to understand about that relationship just as much, right? And so you'll learn from that relationship and what can you pull out of it that's going to help you move you towards your goal. And it could be just a learning, right? Like they ain't right. Like I don't need that person or that type of, that type of drama or whatever it is. But it might tell you that. It might let you know. And so You don't consider them a part of your team, but I still think that it's just important that you recognize that, because sometimes people want to, search for the perfect person or the perfect group and try to connect that way. And really, you have to understand your goals, but understand how they're going to help you with your goals. And if they can't, then okay, accept that, right? And let's move on. So that's just a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Willie. Absolutely agree. So people, you all have had some years of experience in this. I have not had as many years. I've had several, but not as many. So how did you come about building your successful customer base? Because I think we can have ideas and we go out, and some people think that that's just going to happen, right? That you build it and they will come, right? That's sort of thinking, but it takes a little bit more than that. So I'm wondering, and if you could share, whoever would like to share, how do you build that successful customer base?
So I'll jump in on that one. I think initially you really have to sit down and think about who your customer is and what that person looks like. All the way, down to the demographic. Is it a female? Is it a male? Is it, the age range, their financial ability to pay for your services, their likes, their dislikes. Really just center in on who your customer and what that customer looks like. For me, I actually have two separate customers. So I have the customer of the student who is looking for, the medical coding education, but then I also have the customer of the medical professional who needs help and guidance on what they do as far as, their documentation and their services. So I have to really literally put pen to paper and write those specific things down on who my ideal customer is. And that's how, I try to market to those two people.
That targeted marketing, I think, is key, right? And you're right. In order to even target market, you got to know, who are you selling to? Who is this business for, right? Anyone else like to share? How did you build it?
Yeah. So for me, it's changing a little bit. So up until this point, we've been a service-based organization. Now we're coming out with products. So the way you go about it is a little bit different. But up until this point, it's been pretty much relationships, right? And then having your work speak for itself and letting your work and asking current customers, are there any other individuals or any other organizations that you work with that could potentially benefit from our services? It's also been a little bit about exposure, going to different shows, different conferences, and getting in front of the people that could potentially buy from you. And really just follow up. And I have a saying, drive the train, don't let the train drive you. So being aggressive and sending out those emails and building those relationships. Now, since we are going to a little bit more of a product-based business, there's going to be some more targeted marketing to where we'd have to do what we've been doing a little bit more of what Clarice is mentioning as far as identifying target audiences and target demographics.
Yeah, and I would piggyback on what both of them said, and they were great stuff, because what we try to help and teach is that you're focusing on who you're solving the problem for, right? And the more you can connect with them and they connect with you, is how business works. And so if you're focusing on that problem and how you're solving it for them, I think that's an important aspect of the success of your business. And sometimes it's important for you to do what you do and stay focused on that, because we all trying to add the McChicken and the McRib, right, when we do hamburgers, great, right? But but it's important. I think Rico said it's important too that you keep evaluating your business based on your customers, right? He said, listening to your customers, they're telling you, right? You're solving my problem. Thank you. And that might change. And if that changes, you got to be ready to adapt with that. But you need to listen to your customers. So.
Absolutely.
And so for me, going back to your question again, you were talking about, years in this particular industry. And I thought about it as I was mentally preparing for this conversation. I've been doing media locally for 24 years. And so for me, it started 24 years ago at WAIF, just trying to put my all into it with each and every show, just being committed to it. I got people to listen to me today that'll tell me, man, I've been listening to you for 20 years. That's huge. Moving on into corporate radio, just trying to do my best with every single show, trying to push boundaries, trying to do it with integrity. And I think when you, at least in the business that I'm in over the years, people see that, they want to rock with you. They want to support you. So when I made that move to digital, part of what pushed me is I had a lot of people in the community, even sponsors, that were like, Nate, go digital. We'll support you. So I almost felt like, I had to do it because, I didn't want to let people down, and I had so much momentum. But in terms of trying to figure out my customer, that's a real good question. I mean, even in this business, I'm constantly monitoring, what are the attitudes of the people that listen to me. I interact with my audience on multiple levels, some on social media, some via text, to gauge what their opinion is, what's important to them, what's on their mind, so that I can be talking about things that are relevant to them. Because, it may come across as if it's all about what I think, but in actuality in this business, it's really about what the audience thinks. And I realized that a long time ago. So I try to make sure that I navigate that in a way in which I'm always relevant and speaking to the issues of my audience. And I'll be honest with you, I got the kind of audience that will challenge me. I've had people call up and say, Negro, I don't want to hear this. And I've learned to get out of my feelings and listen to them, because it's all really about them. And in that way, I can stay on course and make sure I'm providing to my audience what they really want.
Yes. Providing what they want. So one of the things I heard Nathan speak about and Rico, and I know this of Clarice, is around that, and of Willie, around that engagement. And as Rico talked about, that aggressiveness, and not just sitting back and expecting it to happen. You have to really engage with your customer. You have to have really good relationship. I think Rico spoke about that, the importance of relationship. Even as Nathan says, in order for someone to say that to you, there's relationship there, right? Somebody's listened to you for 20 years. They like, now listen, we're tired of you talking about this. We want to hear about something else, right? Or whatever that may be, but that's relationship. So building that relationship, I think, is key, and being aggressive and that engagement you all are speaking about. So what do you wish you knew before starting your business? Because I think that could help someone who is out here thinking about it or in it. What do you wish you knew before you even got started?
That's an interesting question. I mean, for me personally, and this kind of piggybacks off something Willie was implying, for me, I just feel I don't really, you can, I've spent money that looking back on equipment, that maybe I shouldn't have spent. I've rented commercial, real estate, and thinking back, maybe I could have saved that money, but I try to take each experience and learn something from it. So I'm not really sure I would change anything. I mean, for me, it's a constant learning experience. I'm learning every single day. So I've learned through my mistakes. I've learned through my personal interactions, and I'm learning every single day. Like I get up every single day to try to learn, right? And I try to study. So I'm not really sure if I would have the mentality I have today if anything would have changed. That's just me personally.
For me, I think that this is something that I experienced slightly, but something that I know from other people who are entrepreneurs, especially that have a product-based business, is that sometimes our friends are not our customers, right? Or we shouldn't rely on our friends to be our customers, and not just friends, but past relationships. So when I jumped out and I went on my own, I had a lot of folks in the education sector since I had worked there, right? And I thought that they would be my customers just because we had relationships. And I learned very quickly that just because we have relationships as friends or as colleagues does not mean that either they have the means to, or are required to open up the purse strings for me to give me business. Obviously, some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. And I see that all the time with young entrepreneurs. I have friends and they're mad that their friends aren't supporting their business. Their friends are their friends. And if you're starting a business relying on your friends to support you, it may be a long road. That doesn't mean that they can't support you, but do not rely on your friends to be your customer base.
You know what, Rico? I'm so glad you said that, because I don't think how many times I've seen people do a vent session on Facebook, a complete vent session about how their friends didn't buy or didn't purchase. So you have this expectation, right? And you're putting this money into it thinking this is going to be your customer base, right? But that may not be the case. And like you said, it doesn't mean that they don't support you. It may mean they don't have the means, or what you have is not what they want or need, right? Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, because you could help some people out there. Anyone else? What you wish you knew?
I will say, I'll reemphasize what I just said about, I didn't realize how important it was about solving the problems of others out there. I just, I initially thought it was, I got this thing here and people will want it. And it was, it was give them information, give them this, and it was wrong early on. And I understand it a whole lot better now. And I just wish I would have, come into it a little bit differently and, again, listening more, starting off. But, I think, like I said, from where I'm at now, from where I started and where I'm at in terms of understanding entrepreneurship, it's, like I said, it was a game changer for me. So.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the formula, right, for a successful entrepreneur? Do you have a formula? Not like E-3, like 2, not like that. Well, what's the formula for a successful entrepreneur, in your opinion, or and your experience?
I think it's being a lifelong learner. Mm-hmm. Always willing to, because you have your expertise in your area, but you don't know everything about everything. And but being open and willing to learn. And then if there are situations where you have to bring in the experts, bring them in, let them help you. And be willing to listen to them, and of course you can discern what you need from those conversations, but be willing to at least have the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And I say all the time, if you're at the table and you're the smartest person at the table, get up and leave. That's not where you want to be. Get to a table where you can learn something and develop and gain some knowledge and experience from someone else. Absolutely, Clarice.
Definitely. I'm with that 100%. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be surrounded with people that's way smarter than me in their respective, fields. Like I said, I know what I'm good at, 100%, no doubt about it. I'm not shy about it, but I also know what I don't know. So, that's an interesting question, Dr. FG. The formula, I'm still trying to figure it out. To piggyback off what Clarice said, I'm a big fan of lifelong learning. I tell people all the time, like, I don't get a chance to watch a lot of TV, a lot of television shows, but I'm watching a lot. And I've just developed, a habit of just watching the successful stories of entrepreneurs. So right now I'm studying a dude named Travis O'Gwen. He's one of the founders of Strange Music, which is the most successful independent music label. Why am I doing that? Well, because I want to be the most successful independent media company. So I'm trying to learn from what he has done. I mean, Google, YouTube is an amazing place. So for me, always learning, be flexible, know when to cash in your chips and walk away, learn from others, learn from your mistakes, and think big and be fearless. That's what I'm looking at right now as the formula. I study P. Diddy, Master P. In terms of influences, our culture, youth culture, hip hop culture, millennial culture is a big, big influence for me. I watch and try to learn from the successful stories of people around me and then people that I can get in contact with via the internet. So that's what I would say.
Right. Know when to hold them, fold them, and walk away. Right. Absolutely. Rico?
Yeah, so I have two major formulas. The first one is kind of like the my motto, right? And that's grind, hustle, and relax, right? The grind is doing the work, putting those stakes in the ground, building those relationships, and establishing the business. The hustle is the creating the opportunities for others so that you build that team so that you don't have to grind as hard, and so that you can do the third thing, which is relax, which is a lot about why I, going back to my initial story of wanting to be on as much of my time as I could, right? And so that's kind of the formula that I've been able to take, is putting the work in earlier, building a team that can take some of that work off of me and creating opportunities for them to provide for their families, and then relax as far as enjoying the fruits of the labor. And then the second piece of it is getting the juice but not drinking the Kool-Aid, right? And so when I think about that, is getting the juice, meaning getting the influence, being around those individuals that can propel me to the next place, but not drinking the juice to make it seem as though I'm different from someone else, which is sometimes happens when you're in a room and there's not as many people that look like you. They kind of try to differentiate you from those around you that, in their stereotypical idea. So it's really just getting the juice to be able to influence and support, but not drinking the Kool-Aid to think I'm different in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know, when you said drinking the Kool-Aid and then Nathan drinks, I'm like, he must have felt like, because he said that you reminded him he was thirsty. I don't. Absolutely. Thank you, Rico. I like that grind, hustle, and relax for sure. So, this, as we sit here and talk, I think that for some, it may seem as though, oh, they got it, it's easy. And I know for sure that's not the case all the time. But I would like for us to speak to, or for you to speak to, entrepreneurs who may be struggling and thinking about giving up. What would you say to them?
I'll speak to that a little bit about because we see individuals who are they're coming to us trying to figure some things out, and so people are vulnerable, and that's to me that's precious, right? So I don't want to, you can't break that trust, and so I think it's important that you allow them to share the dream. And I think it's important that you do share the dream so others can help you lift that dream. Because sometimes we think the weight is all of ours, and it could be as simple as making sure that you're sharing a little bit of what your vision is or what you would like to see in your business, and then letting others help you. Lifelong learning. There's two people here who just said it, and I'm going to say the same thing. That's an important piece of being entrepreneurial, right? Is to have that, and surrounding yourself with people who think that same way, I think is an important piece to helping you grow your business or find opportunities for your business. So I just, you have to share that dream. We're always talking about that. Increase your circle, right? Increase the number of people who understand what your vision is, and they will help you lift it up. So.
Thank you, Willie. Excellent advice. Rico, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the opposite spin, and mine is that it's okay to, if you want to give up. I look at entrepreneurship as a state of mind and not a business, right? So if we think about some of the most successful entrepreneurs, they've started and been unsuccessful in many businesses. So sometimes it's not you. It's just that business, right? So it's okay to give that business up, because if you're a real entrepreneur, you'll never stop creating. You'll never stop trying to create your own business. And so it's okay will be my message in short.
Thank you, Rico. Absolutely.
And I think, you mentioned this earlier, knowing your why. What was your passion? Why did you start it? And always reflecting back on your why. That would be my advice to a person if they're thinking about giving up. What is your why?
And for me, I just want to echo what Rico, really everybody, but Rico in particular, what he said. I mean, to me, I agree with that 100%. You know, being an entrepreneur is a mentality. It's not necessarily linked to any one business. So what I would say is, and this piggybacks off what Clarice just said, is what's your why? Review your business plan. Review your business model. You know, what problem are you solving? And don't be afraid to push your chips in and move on to the next endeavor if you feel like, you know, it's not working. Most recently, I saw Tyler Perry, I think it was about a year ago. I just came across the podcast. T.I. has a podcast called Expeditiously. And in that podcast, Tyler Perry said that a lot of entrepreneurs don't know when to fold it, and they stay with it too long. And I don't think anybody can tell you that. You know, you as the entrepreneur have to make that own decision, but that is a part of the factor. Doesn't mean you give up the hustle and the grind and the larger vision. It just means that maybe, you know, you come about it from a different angle.
And I'll piggyback on that too. I think that's an important piece, that you're listening to your customers. Like, if you're not solving their problem, then you're really not in business. I mean, it all comes down to it, right? You just have to understand that, and you have to be ready to pivot to see if you might be able to solve problems for, maybe it's a different segment that you need to look at. So I'm in agreement with what they're saying.
Yeah, and I think to not be afraid to make changes within it, right? So I started off with the same business in some aspects, but it was focused on nothing but diversity, inclusion, and bias, right? But I began to grow. I obtained my doctorate focused on African American women leaders. And when I began to expand my knowledge, it expanded my business, right? And so once I expanded and I began to see more of a need, because I studied so much and the people I spoke to within my research, there was a shift. And I couldn't say, oh, just because I've done this for so long, I have to stay here. No, I don't. I didn't have to stay there. It's okay to expand and to change and to pivot, as Willie indicated. That's okay too. And I think that's important. As Rico spoke about earlier, we've been doing this, but now we're into this as well. That's an expansion to the business. And just because you've done this for so long and you're comfortable, because I think we can get comfortable as well in this space. And we don't even look for opportunities to expand and grow. And I think COVID and this pandemic is such a time to really sit and think about, wait a minute, if this happens again, is what I have to sell, is this going to work again? Because how many businesses did we see fold? Not because they wanted to fold, but because they didn't have what it needed or couldn't go with what was happening with the pandemic. So right now is a great time to think about, how can I expand? What can I do differently, so that I'm feeding the need that's out there and any gaps, as Renee spoke about earlier, and fill those.
Hey, Dr. G, can I add just a really quick story real quick that'll underscore that point? Is that okay?
Yes.
So, like I said, you know, I'm always learning. I'm always on YouTube, always on Google, but usually it's less about entertainment, unless I'm watching LeBron win another championship, which is always fun. But it's more about me just, you know, trying to learn from the good examples of other entrepreneurs. So real quick story that underlines that point. So I was watching this YouTube channel. I'm sorry, I wish I had it for you, because, you know, folks might want to check it out. But there's a YouTube channel out there, and what they do is they talk to the founders of some of the biggest brands out there just to get their story on how they started. So they were talking with the founder of Airbnb. And you wouldn't believe that early on, their business model involved air mattresses, and it was particularly tailored to people who are going to music festivals. So that's where the term Airbnb is, for air mattresses. But what they quickly realized is nobody wanted to sleep on a old, you know, overused air mattress, and that their business model could be so much bigger. So they did a pivot, and look at what it turned into. So, you know, maybe that's something that people can take from it. Maybe you don't collapse the business. Maybe you pivot within the business and maybe sort of retarget it.
That's an excellent example, right? And they could have thrown up their hands like, well, what we thought, you know, it didn't work out. Oh, well, let me go, you know, work for somebody, right? Instead, they sat with it and looked at Airbnb. Well, we already know, right? They have blown up. Excellent example. Thank you, Nathan.
I do think there's, something in what Nathan just said that is important, that it was something that opened my eyes up, is just understanding business modeling, period. Like understanding all the models for businesses that are out there. This is not new, right? And that, Airbnb is sort of a connector model, right? They're just a connecting organization, business that's connecting people who have a need and who can solve it, right? Uber's the same way, right? All of these, there's different types of models out there, and sometimes we just don't know what the models are, and we need help with that. And I just think that's an important piece, and that's part of that, having your team, right, and understanding and having people who can help you think through those things. Rico made a change because he recognized some things in his model that he had to change and be able to adapt, right? And he's solving a problem now for a different segment, or he's solving a problem for the same segment a different way, right? So, he had to be able to listen somewhere somebody told him something, right? Consistently. Like, I need this. And so he's making a change. So, and I just think we're all in that space in our business, and we should be constantly evaluating that.
And just to kind of go off what Willie's saying, as far as getting that knowledge, I just want to share a program that was very impactful for me. I know there's a lot of different programs for entrepreneurs. The Urban League has one, SCORE, the SBA, but I recently completed the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And I started this as a school counselor that had never taken a business class in his life. I always had hustle, but never had any foundation knowledge around business. And that program taught me so much. So and it's here in Cincinnati now. It's a national program. I just got a press release today that they just committed another $250 million to the program. So I would encourage any entrepreneur, whether it's that program or some other program, to get into some type of professional program to help you develop your skills as an entrepreneur.
I hope you got some great information from the panelists in this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. As always, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care.